What is up, everybody? McFlurry here, back today, or I should say tonight, with another video. And today, of course, it's another films and games review. And of course, it's a film. And of course, if you guys saw my last two videos, they were two MonsterVerse films. So you obviously know if those are films I reviewed in that chronological order, then you obviously know what film is up. Of course, we're going to be taking a look at Godzilla King of the Monsters, my second favorite film in the MonsterVerse. Alright, so, history with this movie. Alright, I have my DVD copy, and I have my Blu-ray copy here. I have two copies just because I saw this at Walmart, and it just looked nice to get. I wanted to collect it, and of course, still watch it. So, yeah. So, directed by Michael Dougherty. So, my history with this movie, of course, I go with my history on these movies. My history with this movie, back then, obviously, this was the time where I wasn't a fan of 2014, and I like Kong Skull Island, so I know it's like, oh, goodness sakes, they're making another one. Ugh, like, what are they gonna do to Godzilla now? And especially with all the other monsters in here, like Rodan and Mothra. Like, oh boy. It's just like, I was not a fan of what they were gonna do next, because of 2014 left such a bad taste in my mouth. And this is the past. That was the past. I did not like 2014, but now we're in the present now. I like 2014. It's a good, decent Godzilla movie. Um, but this was back then. I didn't like 2014, and then I didn't. My mom and my cousin were showing me trailers of this, and then I was like, I guess it looks cool. And, my hate for 2014 kind of actually went down. I kind of almost like I forgot about 2014. And also, this is King of the Monsters, and, this is. And then, I did not really see as many trailers, and according to fans, they were spoiling a lot in these trailers and TV spots for King of the Monsters. So I was just avoiding the trailers because I was not interested in this film because of 2014 left a bad taste in my mouth. But then, and then later, like years later, it's like, oh, they spoiled too much in the trailers and the TV spots. Like, I actually ended up avoiding all of them. So I was able to be surprised throughout the movie. So this movie surprised me with a lot of plot things, and It it did. I just so happened to avoid all the spoilers from the trailers and the TV spots because I was not interested in this movie. And it just so happened to help me like this movie even more. So, yep. And then when I saw this, I was amazed. I was shocked. I was surprised. I'm like, oh my goodness, Hollywood for once, America for once got Godzilla right. And this was before my opinions changed on 2014, that stuff. So keep that in mind. Um, so it surprised me. The King of the Monsters surprised me of how much of a great movie, popcorn flick it was, and how much it respected the Godzilla series. It really surprised me, and it just makes me like this movie even more. Um, and like I did walk out of the theater with all happy and that stuff, like in the movie. And this is the movie that made me a fan of the MonsterVerse and made me a Godzilla fan. And well, it didn't really. I was always a Godzilla fan. Duh. What am I saying? I was always a Godzilla fan, but I just kind of started, not as into the not as in for the future. I was sticking to the classics, the Toho Japanese movies, because I was not looking forward to the MonsterVerse because 2014 back then. So I was looking forward to Toho. I was more focused on the classic movies because I like those. I'm a Godzilla fan. I was a Godzilla fan still, but then this made me get into the MonsterVerse. It made me a MonsterVerse fan, and it made me happy. It made me focus. It made me what am I gonna say? Like, I guess optimistic for the future of Godzilla. I guess you can say, of the Godzilla series, because I'm a fan. So yeah, and it surprised me. I thought it was a really great film. It felt like, cause it you know, all right, King of the Monsters. What can I say about it? And here we get into the actual review. King of the Monsters, like, it felt like the childhood character Godzilla came back into the world of movies. It to me, I'm gonna screw it. I'm still gonna say this. To me, this felt like the true official return to Godzilla, because 20 my I know I may sound like a broken record here, a crazy person, but to me, like 2014 it brought Godzilla back, but there really wasn't really that much fan service. No, not really that much. Not really a lot or plenty of fan service, and it tried to do something different with Godzilla. And Shin Godzilla, even Toho was trying to do something different. The anime trilogy, a lot of fans hated it, just so happenly. And anime and Godzilla, that literally sounds like, even though I'm not an anime guy, I do kind of like anime. It's cool. Um, it's like, it does sound like a cool idea, a cool thing. Like Godzilla and anime, like two of Japan's most popular things, anime and kaiju. And it just seemed like a great idea, but according to fans, it was wasted potential. But and then we get to King of the Monsters, where it just pays tribute to the classic Japanese Toho films. It tried to go back into the entertainment roots of Godzilla, fun, action, like Showa or Heisei films or some Millennium films, and it just made me happy. Like, I'm like, it feels so refreshing. Like, finally going back to, what most of the Godzilla series was. And I grew up with those, and yeah, if you're wondering, I did not grow up watching the 1954 film. I didn't watch it till later. I was like almost like a preteen or something. It's been such a long time since I've seen that one, so I can't give up my all my thoughts on that 100%, so I might need to watch that again. But if you don't remember a movie that much, it's not fair to just, review it without even remembering the dang thing that much. So it's just like, it's really cool. I really like it. And if it weren't for Godzilla versus Kong, the next film up on this review series, this would be my favorite MonsterVerse film, and it still is my second favorite. I really like it. It's it's an awesome, great movie, and it's a great Godzilla movie in my opinion. King Kong 9100, he can shout out to him. He can have his own opinion on this movie, but in my opinion, I like this movie. In my eyes, it's a respect to the Godzilla series. Now the positives, um, like, I'm trying to think. All right, so because I like this movie a lot, so where do I even start with the positive? Oh yeah, I like the color theme of this movie. The color themes, like Rodan has like a red fiery orange, almost reddish, and Mothra has like a colorful blue, like representing Earth or something, I believe. King Ghidorah, as you can see, obviously right here, it's more like a goldenish yellow, which represents him very well, because it's fitting. And of course, Godzilla is blue, would represent him because, well, technically the ocean is his home. And it's blue, and of course is it to represent the blue of his atomic breath. So I like the color themes, like the blue, like the coloring in this movie is just it's gorgeous. It's great, and I really like the colors in this movie. Very colorful. And Kong Skull Island and compared to Kong Skull Island 2014, like 2014 was just a bunch of dark grays and reds. It's just a little bit of red here and there, but Kong Skull Island, which I did like the color theme sort of in that movie. Um, it was mostly just a bunch of only one scene where they showed a lot of colors, that thing up in the sky, but yeah, not a whole. It was mostly a bunch of greens and oranges and sunny type colors. But here they go all out with the colors, so I really like it. It fits the scene very well. I really like it. This is a colorful film. And what else? My opinion, at this point, it was the best fight scenes in the MonsterVerse, in my opinion. I know they actually have a bit more cutting. I'll give you warning. They do have a bit more cutting away than 2014, though, unfortunately. But however, the action of the fight scenes are so good. To me, the cutting away is worth it. And like I said with 2014, I don't mind it cutting away to the humans because I got a lot of that in Godzilla movies and a lot of other monster movies. So I'm adapted to it and I'm alright with it. And the action is more worth it this time. Because 2014, I guess you could say, was a bit more interesting because try to do realistic, but here the fights are a bit more fast paced and fun action, like a universal ride. And to me, it just made it more worth it. And what else? Yeah, great fight scenes. Even if the ocean fight, you can't tell what's going on. It's still cool and neat that they at least did an ocean fight scene, in my opinion. The monsters in here, the characters, the main stars, monstars, I should say, are all respected as characters. They're all themselves, feel like, obviously. This, like, I like how they did the character. Godzilla, to me, he's much more of a bad butt in this movie. He's like a good like 30 times more bad butt to me in this movie than in 2014. He's fat, he's stronger, he's faster, he's agiler, he's more aggressive, he's more of a beast. He just looks more powerful. And he's a good skilled fighter. And one thing is that they made him run. A different thing that they made him run in this movie. I know Godzilla technically sort of run in the other movies, but it wasn't really shown as fast. So it's more like to a person, it'll be like a fast walk. But like they show him like actual do like a full on fast running. So like the probably the fastest he's ever ran in any movie. Like it's pretty scary if you think about it. I mean, an almost 100,000 ton, 100 almost 120-meter tall, giant amphibian reptilian dinosaur type giant monster was charging towards you like that. That would be one of the scariest things you ever seen in a monster movie, I guess you could say. Including this thing coming at you, King Ghidorah, which, in my opinion, I don't care what King Kong 1900 says. To me, he actually feels like a villain. To me, this is the most evil, sinister King Ghidorah we ever seen on film. Like, he was just so savage in this movie. Like, he's just here to kill and destroy. Like, they did a good job in making him look like a villain. And to me, he was a threat to Godzilla, to me, in my opinion. He did feel like a threat to Godzilla and the other Earth Defender monsters. And like he did feel like a threat, and he was pretty intimidating and threatening at a lot of points. And even in the fight scenes, to me, in my opinion, he was a threat still. Like, in the Antarctica fight scene, to me, he gave Godzilla a tough time, in my opinion. And to me, he looked pretty strong. Like, in my opinion, King Ghidorah was good as a villain in this movie. Probably the coolest we've seen him. And King Ghidorah is this threatening guy, this kaiju that is like 2 to 3 times bigger than Godzilla, and Godzilla can have a tough time with him, in my opinion. As from what I've seen in the movie, Goji had a hard time with him in the movie at points. Like, they did explain that he was a threat, and despite Goji getting his butt kicked at points, Godzilla kept getting back up. He kept coming back, and there are just these points where he just throws him around like a rag doll. He he makes him his own personal punching bag. In my opinion, I just thought it was bad, but it was cool. And hmm, Rodan in the movie, I don't care what King Kong 900 says. In my opinion, I think he's cool. And there's that. They gave the monster's personality and character. Even Mothra was a bad butt in this movie. And I know she is kind of a bad butt in the earlier Toho films, at least starring Godzilla. But, this is really went full on coolness with her. And I know I'm going to tick a lot of people off, but these are my favorite versions of King Ghidorah, Mothra, and Rodan. I don't care. In my opinion, they're my favorite versions. Um, because they actually have character, and they're such a good modern representation of those three monsters. Back then, as a kid, they're part of the Big Five. Back then, when I was a kid, and I looked at these characters, just they're cool, but not my favorites. Yeah, none of them were my favorites back then. I don't know, just my opinion. Just my opinion. Um, in my opinion, these movies improved them, and they were cool. They made them cool in this movie. Um, what else? The action scenes in this movie were good. They were really good. Mothra, gorgeous, beautiful moments with her. Great. And you got great action, fun scenes. This movie is just, it's hyper, it's active, and it's crazy, and very crazy and insane, and I like it when things in movies and TV shows and video games take it to the fun, crazy meter. And And I felt the most emotion with this movie, like that one scene in the underwater temple, I believe. Like, I'll get to that when I talk about the characters. Um I just felt sympathy for Godzilla in this movie, and compared to the 2014 one, they did try to at least do that, but I just never really felt it that much there. But here I felt it a lot, and you felt sympathetical for Godzilla. You felt bad for him. And and plus he's more like the character. If it does not feel like a different version of Godzilla like in 2014, it feels like the Godzilla, the character. Like, I get it, in the Toho movies there were basically a whole bunch of different other versions of Godzilla, because they were not the same. Technically, in story wise, they're not the same Godzilla, but they still did a good job of making it feel like the same character. And I did not get that from 2014, but I got it from this movie, and it succeeded. I know that I know there's different versions and all, but to me, like the same thing with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. In my opinion, like like they those versions of the characters, they still, even though they're different versions, they still feel like the characters. Like how there's different movie versions of Spider-Man, it still feels like the same character. The still feels like the main character that is the main star. And I know it may sound like a broken record here, but still, it's just my opinion. That's how it should go. And yeah, the characters. All right, so let me talk about a little bit about the story. So I forgot to mention Monarch in the previous two reviews. So Monarch is basically this. There's a symbol of Monarch right there. Basically, it's these thing. It's this organization of the part of the government, I believe, and they're tracking down these kaiju, these titans, and they're studying them in a way over the years. They're investigating them. They're basically like the Shield in the MonsterVerse. Like the Shield is in the Avengers. This is like Monarch is basically the Shield in this cinematic universe. So it's pretty cool that they have that in here. And um so I believe you got this family named the Russells. This is Emma Russell, I believe, Madison Russell, and Mark Russell, I believe. Unfortunately, their story is that when Godzilla attacked in San Francisco, had his big battle, um, with the Mutos, unfortunately, they lost their. She lost her brother, aka him and her son, basically. So they lost a loved one, a family member. They lost a kid, unfortunately, and during the craziness of the climax of the 2014 fight, they show a flashback scene, and I believe it's and then it cuts to years later. I think these two are divorced, and then you got Madison living with the mother, and I think Emma is working with Monarch. So, and they're studying Mothra, and she hatches, and then she's in her larva state. She kind of loses control. She goes crazy because she's scared, and she gets calmed down. And then, spoiler alert here, by the way. And then the main villain comes up, the main human villain of the movie, called Alan Jonah, and he's an eco-terrorist apparently, from what I heard. And he's like the whole he's like this big human villain where he's just like oh, these monsters should rule over the earth, like type of thing, you know. And I think he's trying to convince her that, you know, like these titans should rule and that stuff. I believe so. Take over, and then yeah, I'm kind of not so good at explaining these stories, but you know what I mean. If you, because I know Godzilla fans already know about this movie already. Um, what else? And then they get to Mark Russell, I believe, which is the same actor as one of the characters in the Peter Jackson King Kong 2005 film. So pretty nice, cool there. Um, so they get to him. He's looking at wolves, I believe. He's studying them. And basically, you know, they get there, and then Monarch is having this type of thing where they're explaining about like the Titans and that stuff. These creatures, you know, they say like I'm sorry if the story thing's cringy, but like the best I can explain it. I'm not that good at explaining stories in these movies, but you know, but they say these things like Godzilla, the Mitos, Kong, and I really like that line. And then Ken Watanabe, aka like his character Dr. Serizawa goes with this female assistant and this other guy, I believe. I forgot his name, sorry, but they find Mark Russell, they bring him to Monarch, I believe, and they teach him about the Titans, I believe. And he has a thing against Godzilla because, you know, his son died in that accident, and in that incident, I should say. Um and then, you know, the bad guys, they release King Ghidorah, and it's a big, huge mistake. They released this abomination on the world, and like this dude is crazy. Releasing this thing on the Earth that is not even from Earth. Like, wow, man. Like, this dude can get himself killed. And it's crazy. It's a bunch of crazy stuff. And you got these weird advanced vehicles like this thing. It's crazy. And then Godzilla, spoiler, Godzilla appears to stop King Ghidorah in an epic cool scene, but there is an underwater scene which he does have where a jump scare happens. But he makes a cool bad butt entrance into the fight, and then he has a showdown with King Ghidorah in Antarctica. And it's a pretty cool fight, I would say. Decent fight. I was kind of mind blown by this fight. Plus, another good thing is the soundtrack. I'll get into that after I'm done explaining the story. But like, that's the best I can explain of the story, which I'm almost done. But you know, and then they found out about these other titans. Like, there is these new original monsters. I'll just call them the titans, I guess. There's this mammoth gorilla type titan. There's the spider kaiju. There's a mountain kaiju. There's also this. What other one is there? I believe. Yeah, it's another Muto, but it actually looks cooler in my opinion than the previous Mutos. Um, and then, of course, we get to Rodan in a cool bad butt scene, in my opinion. And so yeah, and then we get to see Rodan fighting King Ghidorah, which in my opinion, kind of a short fight. Unfortunately, you do cut away, but hey, it's cool to see them fight. I guess they have this cool air fight in the air, and King Ghidorah summons a dang thunderstorm wherever he goes, and you know, so yeah, that's me explaining the story there, and let me finish up the highlights of this movie, the positives. The soundtrack. The soundtrack to this film, I like it. It's really great. Great modernized themes of Godzilla and Mothra's theme. I really liked it, and in my opinion, it's best to go with the fan service idea because we never really gotten a cool film like that in a while from the Godzilla series. So it's refreshing. It's cool, and it's another thing. Uh, hmm. What else? Oh yeah, the characters. The characters are slightly more likable than your average characters. They can't be John C. Reilly, Samuel Jackson, or John Goodman. I'll be honest with that. But they're slightly better than the average characters like Weaver or like played by Brie Larson, or the other guy. Sorry, I forgot his name, but he played Loki in the Avengers, and and the other characters in Kong Skull Island, the other soldier characters. But they're slightly better than those characters, and they're just as passable, but in my opinion, slightly better. Just only because you feel more sympathy towards them more, because they lost a son, she lost her brother, and especially what happens in the climax, and of course, you do got the drama stuff between them, and what else? Hmm. They're a family and that stuff, and they're going through all this trouble, this stress, and by the way, we get to the good characters, the really great ones in my opinion. You got we got Dr. Chen in here. I like Dr. Chen. She was cool, and probably my favorite character. Well, Alan Jonah made a great villain, a human villain in my opinion. But also my favorite character in this movie is a Dr. Sarazawa, played by Ken Watanabe, because he like he was a great actor in this movie. In my opinion, the best character. Like, a major step up from his performance in 2014. Like, he was basically just kind of there to say cool lines, but he's here to do both. Play a great character and say cool lines. And, like, he had a great sympathetical story in here because he's the one who helps Godzilla get back up to fight. And you got the underwater temple scene, and it's very emotional. And he says, and I like when he says the Japanese name of Godzilla, and I'll say it like Godzilla. Like I like it. I really like that. And he he also says in Japanese, it's goodbye, old friend. Like it had heart. This movie kind of had that heart in it, and this that emotional level. And then you got the cool scene where Godzilla comes up, and then which is represented in this poster, he gets up out of the water, he sprays his atomic breath into the sky, and that's cool, really great. And we get the cool final battle, which in my opinion, one of the best final battles in cinema history, in my opinion, and in Godzilla history. I know you have the cutting away, of course, but in my opinion, the action of the fight scene makes it worth the cutaways. Plus, I've seen a whole bunch of movies where they have a lot of cutaways, and yet it's still a good fight. So I've seen a whole lot of movies with fight scenes in them that have a bunch of cutaways. So, my opinion, it's worth it, and it's normal. And at least the fight scene's good while it lasted. And it's a fun fight scene in my opinion, you know, and it's great. It has an emotional thing to it, and it's great. It's it's an awesome fight scene in my opinion. One of my favorite final battles in a Godzilla film, and with you know him fighting King Ghidorah and that stuff. And then I like his first appearance in the fight scene, the music. You get their classic retro roars in here, like bit with Mothra, King Ghidorah, and Godzilla. Very cool. I really like that. And it's a fun fight scene in my opinion. And I like how crazy it is. And I just like it. I really like it. And you got the whole Godzilla and Mothra versus King Ghidorah and Rodan tag team matchup. Very fun. I kind of like how Rodan and Mothra spinning in the air. It's funny. I mean, it's a little funny, but it's fun. It's crazy. And then there's a scene where Madison Russell's trying to find shelter, and then Mothra and Rodan just. Sorry, guys, interruption. Sorry about that, guys, but you got the cool thing where Rodan and Mothra come crashing down right in front of her. She has a near-death experience. It's just pretty insane fight scene. And you got the cool shot where King Ghidorah gets a power-up, and then he does, like, the whole thing, and then it destroys most of, like, the reinforcements of Monarch, I believe, and Godzilla, unfortunately, weakens him. And I don't mind the power-ups in this movie, because it's fictional. And I just don't mind it. You know, it's fun and that stuff. And then King Ghidorah drops Godzilla from the dang sky. He falls in a ball of fire, and he lands into the dang ground so hard it it creates like a little bit of explosion. And then you got a sad spoiler. Here we get to the spoiler. If you did not see this movie, I highly recommend clicking on this video. If you did not see this movie. But there is a sad emotional scene where Mothra makes a sacrifice to save Godzilla, and her power starts going into Godzilla, but then this dude starts sucking the energy out of him. Good old classic King Ghidorah there. And ooh, sorry about that, guys. Um, I believe the humans save Godzilla, and then by luring King Ghidorah away, and unfortunately, sadly, the mom sacrifices herself to save Madison and Mark and Godzilla, sort of, and then she has a redemption, and but then all of a sudden, burning Godzilla comes out, and then he fries King Ghidorah. He fries him, incinerates his heads, and then he crushes these two heads, and then he crushes his chest so bad it makes his chest explode with blue lightning energy, and then this nuke, almost like a nuke, goes off in the city. It's insane. And then you got Godzilla eating his, like, looking like he's eating his. You got like a trick out thing where it makes it. Oh, King Ghidorah survived? How? And then Godzilla comes out, and it just so happens to look like Godzilla's eating his head. But then he does a cool thing. He charges up his atomic breath. King Ghidorah's eyes light up blue, just the head, and then it's like a reverse kiss of death. Only he incinerates and destroys the whole head of Ghidorah. And there's a cool scene in the ocean fight where he does decapitate Kevin, where he does like a brutal moment where he rips off the head of Kevin, he grabs onto it, and then he rips it off. My opinion, wouldn't be more brutal than the finishing move in 2014 with the female Mudu. Yes, I said that. My opinion, because Godzilla's always using his atomic breath to kill and finish off the opponent. He always is, but we never seen him did anything physical other than like what? Kill King Ghidorah, kill Anguirus in the original Raids Again film with a neck bite, and rip off the head of Mecha Godzilla, you know, and in the original Destroy All Monsters, he stomps King Ghidorah's last head that's alive. And, you know, it's a fun movie. It is a very fun movie, this film. And then you got the whole cool scene, the cool, awesome, epic scene where the Titans come and they all bow down to Godzilla because basically he took over again as the King of Monsters. It's the title of the movie, King of the Monsters. And then you got the great soundtrack in there, and Godzilla does his victory roar. And then you got the classic shot, like bum 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 bum, and then the titles pop up there. It shows the title of the movie, and then what do you get? You get a cool bad butt thing where it's a remix scene. It's a remix track of the Go Go Godzilla. I'm sorry if that was cringy, but oh well. Hey, at least I tried. It's a great remix of the song. I really like it. It's cool. It's the song. I'm like, oh no, there goes Tokyo. You know that song. It's Blue Oyster Cult, I believe that was the band that wrote the song. It's a cool remix of the song, and it caught us up by surprise. And the build up to GVK in this movie is amazing. You know, in terms of its own right as a movie, I'm just saying. So yeah, and then yeah, and we got the cool thing at the end with Alan Jonah, and then he finds the head of King Ghidorah, and then it cuts to black, and he says, "We'll take it." And you got a cool thing where it shows like the one of the original suit actors that played Godzilla in the old movies, and it's almost like a tribute thing, like rest in peace. And that was cool. That was bad butt right there. And so yeah, that's all the positives of this movie, you know. Um, the negatives. Well, of course, you got the whole family drama in the middle of this, but I didn't mind it. I thought it was passable, in my opinion. I didn't mind it. Um, the the CGI I know is a downgrade from 2014 in Kong Skull Island, but to me, I don't find it terrible. In my opinion, it's passable. I think it's passable CGI. I mean, I thought that despite the less better CGI, I thought I thought the action scenes were still better than 2014 in in Kong Skull Island, in my opinion. And the CGI was passable. Um, Unfortunately, we never got like the classic Ghidorah three-headed monster thing. where Rodan is with Mothra and Godzilla, and he helps fight against King Ghidorah. Obviously would have been better, you know. It's kind of unfitting that Rodan's working together with King Ghidorah, and that would have been cooler if it was more like Ghidorah the three-headed monster. You know, that would have been cooler. But hey, it's passable, and at least the fight is still cool. And those negatives can easily be ignored. They're obviously not too bad, and they're not bad really. They're just iffy. But other than that, in my opinion, that's pretty much it. And yeah, Godzilla only has 2 minutes of screen time more in the 2014 film. But however, it just feels like he has so much more in this movie because the scenes feel more worth it. And plus, those were the shots of his back in 2014. So, and this movie made me like the Monster vs. Godzilla. So yeah, of course. So, King of the Monsters, what can I say about this movie? Well, 2 big thumbs up, and, you know, and I really like it. It's fun. And, um, so the rating on this movie, it's, there are a little bit of negatives here and a little bit of negatives, but they're really not that bad. They can easily be ignored, and piece of cake be ignored, and, you know, there are I really like this film. A lot of positives, and it's really great, and it respects the Godzilla series. It's just a series, a fictional series, of course. I really like it. The color theme, probably my favorite color theme in the MonsterVerse, the blue color. So yeah, really great film in my opinion. This film gets a 9 out of 10, in my opinion. So, what is your opinion on this movie? Well, let me know in the down in the comment section below. And, stay tuned for the next review, probably, which is obviously going to be my number one favorite film in the MonsterVerse. That's GBK. But stay tuned for that review. And stay tuned for next time. And have a good night. And, for rest of tomorrow, well, depends on which day you're watching this. Rest of tomorrow or rest of the day, good morning, good afternoon, good night. Have those type of good times. And have a good time. And remember my opinion on this movie. And if you interested in the content I do on my channel, be sure to subscribe. And if you like the video, well, of course, go ahead and like it. So yeah, and of course, as good old McFlurry says, peace out.